unfortunately. I had some health issues, and I had my appendix removed, and I'm actually much better now. And thank you for all of your prayers and healing energy. I really appreciate it. I am on the mend and doing much better, and I just wanted to thank everybody for all the well wishes. And it was very nice, and I could feel those strength in numbers with all the people praying for me and getting me through such a not unpleasant ordeal, as I would call it. Anyway, enough about me. Tonight, I really have an incredible guest joining me, and it's a real privilege and an honor to have him on the show. I'm going to be joined in just a second by William Constantine, and he is a psychic medium and animal communicator. And a little bit about William, just to let everyone know, he grew up with the paranormal as a child, and you know, in society today, that's not the social norm. But in fact, as a child, he has always had the ability to communicate with both animals and non-physical entities, such as spirits, fairies, angels, ascended masters, and all kinds of other things. He has become a go-to guy for mainstream celebrities, and he's also a life coach, and he has had many retweets from Leanne Rimes, Andy McDowell. He's been retweeted by Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, The Talk, and The Today Show. And I did not realize this until just a second ago. He was also a former supervising producer for The Rachel Ray Show. He's a fascinating and incredible human being, and it is my honor tonight to have him join me this evening. I'm hoping he is with me this evening. William, good evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful, William. Thank you so much for being here on Alpha Star Radio. It's a real honor and privilege to have you with us tonight.
Oh, the privilege is all mine.
Well, you're a pretty wonderful soul, I'll tell you. I've been looking through some things on you and researching you a little bit, and you are the real deal, my friend. One thing I know about myself is in the type of astrology that I do, I'm not too popular with a lot of psychic mediums. And that's only because I just see what I see in the stars, and I know who's who and who's not who they claim to be. And you, my friend, are absolutely genuine and wonderful. So before I dive into all of this, I just maybe tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself, how you came to notice your abilities.
Well, you know, I started off as a little kid, and I always had spirit around. I didn't know that it was spirit until probably I was 7, and I'd say the most sort of my awakening was I was 7 and I was in elementary school or whatever, and the principal had passed, but I had this meeting with him, and I kept seeing him all day, and you know, Mr. Dobas kept saying to me, you know, don't forget our meeting, because we were going to put on a school play, and we were going to talk about it. And so I go into the office, and the ladies in the office, I said, you know, I'm here to see Mr. Dobas, and they said, well, he hasn't been here all day. And I was 7, so, and I'm an indigo child, so I tend to be a little bit belligerent when people are, you know, trying to pull one over on me. So, you know, I argued for a little bit, and I went home sulking, and then I came back the next day, and in homeroom, they announced that Mr. Douglas had passed the day before of a brain aneurysm in his office. So, you know, so it was at that point that I realized that not everybody saw what I saw. And as I continued to grow older, you know, I was trying to filter, you know, and I was trying to, like, pretend like I didn't have this ability, but every once in a while, some type of information would be disclosed to somebody, and it would either scare them and they'd run for the hills, or it would intrigue them, you know, and so it was, I'd say that was probably my time where I knew that was going to happen. And then when I dove into it professionally was many years later. I was probably, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. My grandparents had died of a car accident, but I was in Connecticut, and I was sitting in my living room watching TV, or walking by the TV and something caught my eye, and then I sort of went into this trance where I got the vision of my grandparents driving home. And, and my grandmother had this habit of falling asleep in the car, and my grandfather would wake her up before they got home. And this time, what happened was he, was saying, Margaret, like, get up. And she didn't get up, and then he looked over to her, and he realized something was wrong. So then he said, oh, my God, no. And as he turned for her, because she became the priority, he hit the steering wheel with his elbow, and his foot landed on the accelerator because he was reaching for her. And he put the car on track with a telephone pole. And the car was going at such a rate that when he impacted with the telephone pole, the engine actually impaled him, and he died right away. She was already gone, and the transformer box torched the car. So it was a devastating blow to me because they were also, I was in 10 different foster homes. They were my first foster home and my last foster home, and so they were pretty much what I considered my parents. Like they were the closest things to me, and they believed in psychics and the whole nine. And it was a devastating thing. And they came to me that night and said that I had to be strong for their daughter, she was my adopted mother. And I was like, well, what about me? And so at the time I'm sort of a nerd, so I had built my own computer and I trashed that. I trashed my room. And then when I came back from New York, because we went to Ithaca, for the service and everything. And then when I came back, I found myself on the edge of a cliff. And, it was a cliff that I know numerous people had taken their lives on, and that was where I was going. And my grandparents came to me for the last time, and they said that I was going to change people's lives, and basically not to do what I was about to do. And that people would come to count on me, and that my mission was far greater than me. And so I stepped off the ledge and ensued a life of craziness. But here I am.
Well, that's a wonderful story, and unfortunately sometimes in life, when we have to deal with tragedy is what kind of raises us from the ashes like a phoenix to a higher light. And that kind of sounds like what has happened for you in a lot of ways. I'm very sorry for your loss, but you've become this phenomenal, incredible human being, and you're actually a gift and a blessing to this planet. And we should all be grateful in a lot of ways. What a phenomenal story! Have you ever thought about writing a book about this? Or is there a book in the works about your life? Because that's a pretty incredible story. If you ever wanted to share it,
a book about my life. I think there's plenty of books out there where it's like growing up medium or like people's life with the other side, and so that's not necessarily my goal. But I am actually writing a book, and the book is based on sort of life lessons from the afterlife, what the dead know about living. And because throughout my doing readings, I realized that I was getting a lot of all this shoulda, coulda, wouldas. They wish they loved more, they wish they forgave more often, they wish they followed their own dreams instead of pursued other people's, that were bestowed upon them. They wish they lived life outside of their comfort zone. So there's all of these other things, and then I started thinking, this is really would help in life coaching, and so then I started life coaching stuff, and then that just started to grow, and then and I think that a lot of people have asked me, like, what does the dead think about living, or because a lot of clients will say they don't understand the reason why we're here. Right, and I'm sure you probably get that in astrology too, is that nobody understands really why we're going through this mundane monotony of everything that we're going through, and So I think that that was really the important thing for me to write about, rather than my story, because I could tell my story. But that's going to be later on down the road. I mean, I was in foster homes. I was molested. I was homeless for 3 years on the street. So I have a vast story. And maybe one of them would make a great lifetime movie network.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
But, yeah, so it's, you know, and I think the thing is sometimes the greatest spiritual teachers have to go through the biggest trauma. You know, and it's through that, because I remember one time I was doing a reading for somebody, and it was the first time that a molestation connection came up. And I thought to myself, I don't really want to go through this, I don't want to go through this. And Archangel Michael is standing beside me, and he's like, listen, it's not about you and your journey, it's about helping your client and their journey. And by you expressing this, you're going to help them heal. And so you don't really argue with an archangel. So I was like, whatever. So I delivered the message, and I helped. And, you know, and it really helped them be able to release it and forgive, you know, what happened. And so then I realized that, you know, that became sort of my motto for all of the work that I do, is that it's never really about me. You know, it's not how great a medium I am. And I was endorsed by the supervising producer of the Rachel Ray Show. I wasn't one. You know, but... So the thing is, you know, but that's sort of where it all spawned, you know, and it's like you start helping people, and it becomes less about you, and the work becomes more true. You know, when you're starting to go into ego, and you're starting to think that, like, you know, you're the best of the best, and even though people have touted me as that, I just am humbled that people even think kind thoughts about me. You know, and so I'm just like, hey, look, I'm a normal guy. I have a few abilities, but, you know, so does everybody. Everybody has a gift in some aspects. Some people are artists, some people are writers, some people are great communicators, some have a mixture of gifts, you know, and I think it's about embracing them and learning to, you know, raise ourselves up with them, rather than, you know, feel separated because of them.
You're absolutely right, and you're right. In the line of work that I do, I always tell people, as souls, we all have a purpose on this planet. Some of us, you know, yourself especially, are geared more towards the metaphysical world, and you've been blessed with this ability. Not everyone has that ability. Others have other abilities. We're all individuals, and it's a beautiful thing, but there's so much competition, especially in, and I don't dare say it, but I'm going to, in the metaphysical world, and I know you've probably dealt with this in the past yourself, there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that, and what human beings really need to realize is this. We are all, you know, one with the planet, and we all have gifts and abilities, and people need to learn to understand their own gifts and their own abilities so that they can progress into the human beings that they were actually meant to be on this planet. And it's sad, and it's also a beautiful thing. It's kind of bittersweet for me because I see both, you know, aspects, and I like the fact that in your bio, I just want to go back to the bio for just a minute because it does talk about that you have, what's the word I'm looking for here? You have debated with theologians on this very subject, and I'm kind of curious, how did that go? Because in my realm, I'm not well liked.
Well, you know, I don't really care if I'm liked. You know,
I don't either.
You know, I think that religion serves a purpose, right? It gives people faith, and it gives them something to believe in. But, you know, I think there was many years before religion was even introduced into the world. You know, and so, you know, for me, I know Christ as an ascended master, and he's vastly different than the Christ portrayed in the Bible. Just saying. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of, if people believe that, that's great. But part of their 10 Commandments is that they shouldn't judge other people. And I find that I get more people quoting the Bible to me, people that haven't even read the thing from cover to cover. and they're quoting the Bible against mediumship, where like I'm talking to demons and and all this other stuff. And I said, if you realize the messages that I'm delivering to people, they're all delivered